Welcome to the Biker Protocol channel, and this is
Tales from the Road.
cool. All right.
Layla.
I am Hollywood with Black Patch MC, and we've got
I'm Picasso with the Eagle Riders MC here in Las Vegas. Welcome to our channel.
Tales from the Road.
Tales from the Road. What's your story today?
Uh,
I have a long one, so I'm going to have you go first.
this one's not fun per se, but it involves the law enforcement.
Okay.
So I was going leaving for a ride to this big ride every year, like a big local club, old local club, always fun ride. And I don't know, I was zoning out. It was early morning, and I was going down the road, and I should have. That was my mistake. I should have gotten on the freeway and gone that way. But um, so there's a police station like a couple blocks down the road, and nothing out of the normal. And I going down the road, and here's a cop, and they're gonna pull out from the police station. They pull out from behind me. I'm like, okay, well, what's wrong? I'm not doing anything, illegal. I'm not speeding or anything, so I'm just gonna keep going. Well, they light me up and they pull me over. So I pull in this little neighborhood. It's on the side of the road, and whatever. Get off the bike. At the time I was concealed carry, so I was carrying my pew pew, and so they take it from me, and I give them my CCW permit, and they have me sit at the front of the car and all this, and I'm wearing my helmet still, and they're like, "All right, we're gonna go look you up," And I was like, "Why'd you pull me over?" It's because you have a tinted license plate cover. And I'm like, "Oh, really?
Huh.
Okay." And so they're looking it up, and I had this old CCW card that was, it was out of Reno, and their sheriff's department there isn't modernized, or it wasn't at the time, so looked like it was like some kid laminated a card. So in all defense for them, it looked a little
janky.
sketch, but so he's up there holding it up in the air, like trying to see if it's fake and stuff. He's like, "I'm having a hard time finding you in the system," and I'm like, "I don't know what to tell you. You've got all my information right there." And his partner at the time was sitting there talking to me, and I'm riding a cruiser, my Victory, right?
Right.
It's a bagger, and he's like asking me things like, "Oh, what kind of engine you got in there and all this? Does that thing do wheelies? You ride with sport
come
bikes?"
on, really? Jeez.
And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So I just consistent phrase that I think everyone should remember is, I don't answer questions outside the scope of this stop. So if you're gonna ask me questions about my tinted license plate, maybe I'll answer those. But anyways, eventually the cop comes over and he says, "Yeah, put your hands behind your back," and he puts cuffs on me. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is a surprise." And I'm like, "Why am I under arrest?" And he goes, "Because you're illegal carrying." And I'm like, "But you have my permit in your hands." He's like, "We're not finding you in the system," and blah blah blah. They had another cop car come for, I don't remember for what reason, whatever. They always do that, right? And eventually, I think it was like what do they call it? The guy in charge, the sergeant or whatever.
Yeah, supervisor or whatever. Yeah.
It must have been like he had to come check it and do his job for him, obviously. And so whatever happened, they found me in the system. So at one point, so I'm sitting on the ground, and it was really hot too, with my helmet still on and in cuffs. And they finally come and go, "Get up, stand up," and they take the cuffs off. I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "We found you in the system, but we're still going to give you a ticket for your tinted license plate
Wow.
cover." And I'm like, "Ain't that some, And so he lets me go. I sit on my bike, and he comes back and he puts my handgun on the sidewalk not near me, but like over on the side, which I thought was strange for like safety reasons. Like,
Sure.
anyone could probably run up and grab that, I guess. And he's like, "If you go towards this, it's going to be considered a threat." And I'm like,
God,
"Okay."
yeah.
So I just sitting on my bike, and he pulls around and parks on the other side of the street, his little residential street, and sat there for another 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm sitting here just roasting on my bike because I can't do anything. I got to get my handgun, and eventually leaves. I go get it. And then there was a neighbor of someone in the residential area that was watching the whole thing from their garage. And I just hear him say, "Ain't that something?" from afar. I was like, "Yeah, tell me about
Wow.
it." So it was just there was a little bit more to it because there was a big event that happened like a couple days prior, and they took over the strip, and we may or may not have been there. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but it was kind of some bull, I don't know.
And the lesson here, which is interesting, is, we live in a state where in Nevada here, right? And every state has different regulations. which it surprises them a little bit because we do have a Second Amendment, which doesn't seem like it gets obeyed very much.
Yeah.
And, we're fortunate we live in Nevada where you have the option to conceal carry. You have the option to open carry, right? And so, I don't pretend to be an expert on firearms. Actually, we might want to consider having that as a guest on here sometime to talk about, because there's a lot of rules that I've learned over the years that I didn't know about how to carry firearms. But the thing that's always so interesting to me is how either a lot of police know about how Second Amendment laws work,
Right.
or they either are ignorant or they pretend to be ignorant.
Yeah.
And that's even more frustrating is when they ask you like really dumb questions. Like I got pulled over once and I carry, so I have a couple pistols that I carry, right? I have a Walter I like, I've got a Beretta and some other things. But a lot of ones, if I'm out and about and I want to carry something nice, I have a Kimber 45, right?
Mhm.
It's a 4-inch 1911, right? And it's a heavy gun, but I love carrying it. It looks great. It's a good gun. But I always carry it cocked and locked, right? So I have it, I have the hammer back. I've got one in the chamber, but it's got two safeties on it. I wear a good holster for it, it locks it up and everything. So anyways, but I've been pulled over before and cop comes over to me and is like, why are you carrying hardware like that? And my answer to that is the same reason you are,
Yeah.
And so, and then people ask you about it. Well, why are you carrying such a big gun? 45, that's, it's like, what difference does it make to you?
Yeah.
Why am I being pulled over? I get it. And one of the things it's a lesson we talk about a lot on this channel is how important it is to understand the laws. And none of us are attorneys, or very few of us, right?
Yeah.
There are some. If you are and you watch this channel, we'd love to hear from you. Leave that in the comments because that could be for some interesting conversations. But I don't pretend to be a legal expert by any stretch, right?
Yeah.
But I do know certain rules, and I do know the one rule I always learned is shut your mouth,
Yeah.
right? Anything that we're going to do another video on this, but a lot of times when you're talking to police, it's just best to just be nice. Don't be rude. Don't call them names. Don't be stupid. Don't do any of those things.
Yeah.
But just answer questions that's germane to the topic.
It's an inconvenience for sure.
Yeah.
But you'll help yourself in the long run.
Right.
And obviously have your paperwork in order.
Yeah, right,
I
right.
had mine, but I don't know if their systems didn't connect or what the problem was.
Could be, yeah. Most likely that's the case.
Finally found me, or that's also, it could be a tactic to wear you down, make you say, all right, fine, this and that and whatever, or incriminate yourself.
Yeah.
That could have been very well what it was. So it's an inconvenience. So like we do with these tales, there's always kind of like a lesson.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's
I'd
always
say
a moral to
that's
these
kind
things.
of a lesson. And, don't say anything because, this guy's saying, asking me, do you ride with sport bikes and this and that? I start answering these questions and they just start building something right there. And now maybe I end up actually going down to the precinct or whatever you call it.
Well, and understand, and I don't want to turn this into a whole video just about police, but
it's kind of
understand that the number one motive for most police is to get you to incriminate yourself, right? They like to be nice to you and get you to chat. And if you watch enough, body cam footage videos, and there's a billion of them on YouTube, that's the one thing that makes me crazy is when you watch these police officers and they start with the same line of hey, listen, just make this easy. If you just tell me what's going on and just tell me the whole story, this will be a lot easier on yourself. And that literally is a lie.
Yeah.
There's a point where just, deal with it. And if you're getting pulled over and if it's not a big deal, your whole objective should be just to make the whole encounter as easy as possible and get on the way.
Yeah.
Get back on the road.
Right. We don't need to get.
Yeah, we don't want to get down that path a little too much.
Your tales from.
All right, my story is a little more wacky. All right, so this is not going to be a short story, unfortunately, but it's funny. So
sit back, everyone.
Oh man, I'm telling you. So, there's a couple tales from the road that I have regarding our club, working with different charity rides and big events and things like this. We've gotten called up for, and historically, they have almost all gone bad, like in one way or another.
Okay.
And so we now have like policy: we're not doing these anymore. We're not doing these anymore. When I was P of the club, it was constantly like, hey, let's do all this stuff, and then we do it, and we were like, that was a big mistake, right? So I will share one that's a funny one. And so we got called up years ago, and it's an extremely long story how it got to this point, and it's not really worth telling this part of the story, but we got asked by let's just say a very, very, very large company that a lot of people use. I don't want to give them, I'll just say it. It was Amazon. So
not sponsored.
Yeah, not sponsored by this, right? So they called us up and they were having a big conference here in Vegas. And so, you know, Hollywood and I, for those of you who don't know, we both work in video production.
Yeah.
And I'm more of a photographer, you're more videography, but I do a little bit of both. And so a lot of our background is in working with the conventions and trade shows. That makes up a lot of the bread and butter of what we both do.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's common for me to shoot events where they do these big excursions for their staff, their salespeople, their, you know, whomever.
Tax write-offs.
Right. And a lot of it's tax write-offs. And a lot of these parties can be really, I mean, huge. I mean, I've shot events for like car companies where they will spend literally close to $10 million on a party for 500 people.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, this is how they do these things. Right. So this thing that they were doing was on their last day of their conference, they sent a lot of the people that attended, and we're talking thousands of people, that the company paid for to go on some sort of an excursion. So they can go do like a spa day. They can go on a nature hike somewhere, go hot air ballooning. That was an extra, river rafting, things like this. Right. And essentially what it works is that when you're at the conference, you sign up for whatever you want to go on and then off you go. So some of these things require a little pre-planning. And so they, one of the excursions that they did was anybody who has a motorcycle endorsement could go on a organized motorcycle ride. They would rent the bikes for everybody. Oh yeah. You could see where this is going, right? So they rent the bikes for everybody. And then, so they need somebody to help because, you know, wherever they're renting them from didn't want to deal with them, because they were smarter than us. And so our club, we get called up and they're like, hey, you know, they found our website and they said, hey, we would really love it if, you know, as a club, can we hire you guys to run these guys a route, right? You know, for half a day or something. And we'll pay you and we'll take good care of you. We'll feed you lunch. It'll be a ton of fun. You'll have a great time. And like a bunch of morons, I said, yes, our club said yes to this. So we get down to the rental place and we were told all these people they're riders. They all have endorsements. All right, that's fine. And it all started, we gave them an agenda. Here's where we need to start. We need to be on the road by this time. We're going to take them out here. And it was a good round trip. We took them out to Valley of Fire. Round trip is about 120 miles. So one tank of gas, really. And all the bikes that we're using were either trikes or street glides, road glides, you know, long distance bikes. Didn't really need gas, but you know, it is what it is. So they show up, everybody shows up late. Like they all are bussed into the meeting place. Everybody shows up late, which throws our whole day off, right? And then the check-in, check-out process with the bikes takes way longer than expected. And for the record, we were told it was going to be about 50 bikes. Turned out it was 120. So because everybody wanted to do this, right? Yeah, it'd be easy, right? Nice fun day. So all these people show up, which now, because it's over double the amount of people going on this thing, that takes forever. So we were hoping to be on the road by 10 a.m. We're now on the road at 12:30, right? So it's like, oh man, what a mess. All right. So we decided that to manage a group this big, running a group that large down the highway would just be recipe for disaster. So what we did was we segmented the group into 4 packs. We figured it'd be a little bit easier to manage. So each group would have its own leader from our club, right? And each group would have its own tail gunner and 1 road guard running the group. So each group would have 3 people from the club running it, plus whatever miscellaneous people we could filter into this mess, right? So we all get out 1 group at a time. We're lining everybody up. We're getting them out there. And by the way, a lot of these people that said they knew how to ride, no, not so much.
Endorsement from 40 years ago.
For 40 years ago, they ride maybe once a month, you know, and so what happens is the rental company that they were getting the bikes from, when they size these guys up and they're not really sure if they have any skills or if because they ask them questions, right? They're like, do me a favor, could you hop on a bike and drive it around the building a couple times so we could see? Sure. So we always knew, like anybody that's riding around the building, we knew like, okay, these are the guys we got to watch for because we know they don't know how to ride. We're seeing people taking out trikes because they couldn't take out 2-wheel bikes and they're popping up on curbs. They're like, oh, it was just like, at this point, we should have said this is a problem. So we get everybody on the highway, right? And so our first stop along the way is about 50 miles out. And that was like at a big truck stop. We were going to kind of rendezvous, get everybody together. It was a good hour on the road, get them drinks, whatever, and then get out to our final destination and then loop them back. So we get out there and so we're doing counts and stuff like this. And we realize, wait a minute, I think we're down 1 bike. So what had happened was we called because like, how did somebody break down? Like what happened? So we called back to headquarters and we're like, we think we're missing somebody because we had checklists. We didn't want to lose it, right? Well, it turns out one of the guys in one of the packs, it was like right when we were getting on the freeway, he was on a new Indian, couldn't get his heated hand grips to turn off. His hand grips were the seat, one or the other.
Okay.
And it's middle of summer, right? So he's freaking out over this. So he pulls out of the pack, goes back to HQ. And so now we're on the highway. We're 10 miles down the road. And he's like, I don't know how to turn this off. And they're like, oh, just push this button. Oh, okay. he's like, well, how do I catch up to the pack? And we're like, dude, they're like, they're down, they're out of the city by now. Well, he's like, well, where are they going to meet? He goes, well, they're going to rendezvous up at this location, right? So they give him directions. And so we call in and they go, yeah, there's one guy that's going to be meeting you. Just wait for him. He's about 10 minutes behind. Okay. So we're waiting. Then I get another call. We got a problem. Well, it turns out this guy got on the highway, didn't follow the directions that they gave him, and he took a wrong turn and he went from being at Valley Fire to Indian Springs, which is like a total detour.
We've done that before. Sorry for Tales from
Oh, man. So this guy goes totally in the wrong direction. Like, I mean, couldn't be, all right. So now he's at this gas station going, well, where are the 120 bikes, right? And we're all like, well, because we're 50 miles that way.
Yeah.
All right. So we're trying to sort all this out. And so we finally get to our destination, which is this little restaurant. And it was out in a little town called Logandale, right? And over by Lake Mead. And so it was this little restaurant and they were expecting us. They had a reservation, like everything's planned, but it's just a disaster getting that many bikes into one big parking lot.
Oh yeah.
And so, we all had lunch and it is what it is. And so we're ready to get back on the road, right? So now it's in the late afternoon. We're ready to get back on the road. So now what's happening is that everybody's got to go find their bikes. And imagine 120 rented motorcycles, 90 of them are probably black Harleys. So it's this ocean of black Harleys mixed in with a spat. So we're dealing with people that are like, I can't find my bike. Well, it's in here somewhere. Yeah, but I think it was, one guy actually swore his bike was stolen. We're like, nobody's going to come into a field of bikes and steal the bike, right? Yeah. No, I can't find it. I know where I parked. And it's okay. All right. So I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to wait till everybody's on a bike. Then the one without a rider on is probably yours. Lo and behold, we found the bike. And it was a black Harley, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
So, of course. So we're all ready to go. And these guys, we had to lead him back onto the highway to get him back. And so we're waiting. So we're waiting for them to get all lined up and we're going to lead them out and same packs, the whole thing. And so we're walking the club. We're walking to our bikes. And so we're walking there and this whole pack of morons, they just leave. They just pull out and they're gone and they're moving. And we're like, who's leading all these guys? And the answer was nobody. They just decided to go. And we're like, we're dealing with like smart, techie, brilliant people who just had no situational awareness, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm following. I was the tail gunner of the last group. So I'm all the way in the back of this massive pipeline of this huge snake. Meanwhile, the guy we had in our club, his name was Gunner. He was leading the first pack. So I'm in the way back and he should be in the way front. And we're rolling down this road. And I knew at some point the rest of our crew had to get up front. But anyways, we're back and he comes flying up to me. And I'm like, shouldn't you be like a mile up that way? He goes, yeah. He goes, I don't know who's leading them out. And they don't know where they're going. And meanwhile, you got to understand, we're snaking through farmland. They have no idea. So he floors it and he gets way up to the front of the pack and somehow he got up there and we let him back. And so we finally get him back home, right? And it turns out one of the guys that was in this group was a retired cop, right? He was now working for them. So, and he comes over to us, he goes, you guys have the most patience of anybody I've ever met. He goes, what a total disaster this thing was. He goes, you did the best you could, but man, this was bad. And we got called up to do it. Then a year later and we're like, no. Love you guys. No, sorry. Not after last year. So yeah, so that was our Tales on the Road so the lesson in that was be careful what you think is going to be fun because a lot of times it really isn't. And we thought it'd be a good idea and it seemed like a great idea at the time. And looking back, we got some laughs out of it, but man, I'll tell you what, it was like when you lead a small amount of people that's inexperienced is one thing. When you lead an army of people that has no idea what they're doing, it's bad.
And we've all kind of experienced that too with just general charity rides. When you have a lot of independents riding, just because you have the MC endorsement doesn't necessarily mean you got to ride. And I mean, we all start somewhere, right?
Sure.
No disrespect to that, but you got to know what you're getting into, know who you're riding next to, because
Well, we all know. I mean, look, if you look on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp or whatever, or go to any motorcycle dealer, there's so many motorcycles out there that are 10 years old with 3,000 miles on them. I mean, there's a sea of them, right? Which tells me that a lot of people buy bikes, they ride them once in a while, and then they get tired of it, and their wife yells at them and says, you can't ride anymore, and then they call it a day, right? Yeah. So the problem I have with a lot of these big charity rides, we have one coming up, is, you slap 100, 200 bikes together, and especially when you put them in an environment they're not used to riding in, they're not club people, they're not used to riding in any kind of formation, and now you slap 200 of them together, and it's amazing more bikes don't go down.
I'll have one for the next Tales for Road.
Cool.
Just about that charity ride and crazy people. Yep.
There's many
cool.
out there. Well, cool. thanks so much for watching this episode of Tales from the Road. We do this midweek. And so if you haven't done so, please like and subscribe to this channel. It really helps us out a lot. Click the notification bell and leave a comment if you've got some crazy story that your Tales from the Road. We'd love to hear it. So thanks for watching. We've got our next video coming out in a couple of days. These are our midweek videos. Our main videos come out on Friday. So be sure to look out for those. And anything,
subscribe.
Please subscribe. Keep the shiny side up. Peace.
Yeah.